it asks you to solve, number one. Okay, so when I'm solving, the goal is to get x equals something. Always ask yourself, what's the end result going to be? It's going to be x equals something because I'm solving. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and solve it. When you solve, make sure that you isolate the radical first. I'm going to isolate the radical. That means that -1 needs to move to the right, and the 2 needs to move to the right side of the equal sign. Okay, so I'm going to add 1, which is going to get me 2 cube root x equals 6 because I added 1. Then I divide by 2. Okay, when I divide by 2, I'm going to get the cube root of x is equal to 3. Again, how did I get that? I divided both sides by 2. Last step here, remember, the inverse of cube rooting is cubing. Okay, so to get rid of a cube root, I must cube both sides, leaving me with the answer 3 cubed, which is going to get me 27 in this case. Okay? All right, so in the directions here, it says check for extraneous solutions. So I'm going to get my answer. I need to make sure I plug it back in. That way I can make sure that that's an actual answer of this problem, but you're still solving. So the goal is to get x equals something. It could be more than one thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this. We want to isolate the square root symbol. It's isolated. There's nothing on the left side but the square root symbol. So I'm going to take the inverse, which is squaring both sides. The opposite of square rooting is squaring. So that's going to leave me with 22 minus 3x is equal to x minus 6 squared, which really means x minus 6 times x minus 6. Right? So on the right side, I need to make sure that I double distribute so that I can put all to one side and factor. So I'm going to multiply this x to both of them, leaving me with x squared minus 6x. Then I'm going to take this negative 6 and multiply that to both of them, giving me negative 6x, and then positive 36. This definitely is a challenging problem. There's a lot of steps, but take your time. So now you're looking at this like, well, what would I even do? Well, first on the right side, I can see that I have like terms. Okay, so 22 minus 3x is equal to x squared. Negative 6 minus 6 gets me negative 12 plus 36. Goal here, move everything to where the x squared is. So move everything to the right side. So I'm going to subtract the 22, and add the 3x. Add 3x. Because that's going to get nothing on the left side, which is what we want, so that we can factor. Okay? So I have x squared, negative 12 plus 3 is going to get me negative 9. And then 36 minus 22, that's going to get me 13. Wait, 6, 5, 4, no, 14, sorry. Positive 14. Okay, now you're here. In order to solve a quadratic, you have to factor. So what multiplies to 14 and adds to negative 9? Well, 7 and 2 multiply to 14 and add a 9, but they both need to be negative in order to get to negative 9. So I have 0 is equal to x minus 7 and x minus 2. So I have two answers here. My two answers are x equals positive 7 and x equals positive 2. Now, I normally would be like, yes, we're done, okay? But it did say to check for extraneous. When that happens, there's most likely going to be one that you can cross off. Not all the time, but sometimes. So what you have to do in blue is take both of these and plug them in to see if they work, okay? And I know it's a lot of work, but take your time, okay? So the square root of 22 minus 3 times 7 in this case is equal to 7 minus 6. So I'm taking that 7 and I'm putting it in where I see an x. Okay. On the left side, that's 22 minus 21, which is 1. And then on the right side, 7 minus 6 is 1, so this one's good. Okay, so 7 is good to go. Do it again, but do it for the 2. So I'm going to take this away, and now I'm going to put in a 2. Okay, 22 minus 6 is going to get me 16. And the square root of 16 is 4. Okay? 2 minus 6 on the right side is negative 4. That does not equal each other. So this one's gone. That's extraneous. So my final answer, I know that was probably one of the hardest problems that you'll see, is just 7. Okay? Moving on. Solve. Check for extraneous. Okay, so when I solve this, I need to isolate this piece before I do anything. So subtract 5 to both sides. So x squared plus 5x plus 25 all to the 3 halves is equal to, remember we have to subtract 5 to both sides, which would get me 343. Well, when you look at this, how would you get rid of the 3 halves? You would have to raise it to the 2/3 because look, that will cancel. But you must do it to both sides. Okay? Type that right side in your calculator. When you type that in, okay, that should give you 49. And then I'm going to write this down because we didn't do anything to this. Move that 49 to the left side so that we can factor. Okay, sorry, I'm writing all over. This was kind of a last minute thing. So x squared plus 5x when I subtract 49 to both sides. Okay, 25 minus 49 is going to get me negative 24. And then I have to say what multiplies to negative 24 and adds to positive 5. Okay, what multiplies to 24 and adds to positive 5. You can even go in order. Okay, you can see 2 and 12, not going to get me 5, 3 and 8. That's somehow going to get me 5, and that's going to happen if the 3 is negative. So I have x minus 3, x plus 8. My 2 possible answers here are 3 and negative 8. Check your answers, plug them back into the equation. But when you check both the 3 and the negative 8 into your calculator, they both work. So they both are answers.